people who have survived attempted murder. How did it happen? How did you survive? I was attacked by my neighbor's teenage son during a drug-induced psychosis. He came to the door asking for help. I stepped outside as he was pointing back to his place, saying someone was trying to get him. I quickly realized he wasn't making sense, and as I started moving back towards the door, he started screaming about why no one was helping him. He got really angry and started screaming he was going to kill us all. I ran back in the door and felt him hit me twice. I locked the door and grabbed my phone to call the police. He was still yelling and moving back and forth between my place and his. It wasn't until police arrived and detained him that I went back outside. That was when I realized I wasn't just sweating from fear, but my entire back was soaked in blood. What I thought were punches were actually him stabbing me twice. Very ugly scars, but fortunately no long-term damage. I ran over my would-be carjacker who had a shotgun in his hand. Feels pretty insignificant considering there are people here that have been shot, stabbed, etc. But here goes. My dad tried to choke me to death at the age of 18, the culmination of years of violence directed at me. He'd hired a private investigator to follow my mom, who divorced him 2 years earlier. I told him the decent thing to do would be to leave her alone and move on. He went purple in the face and launched at me, throwing his hands around my throat. For a split second, I thought he was doing the old Homer Simpson, throttling nothing more. But I quickly realized he was forcing his thumbs down onto my windpipe with intent. I felt my eyes bulging in my sockets, so I brought my knee up to his stomach as hard as I could, broke free and left the house. Spent the next few months sleeping in underground car parks and ditches until a friend found out and took me in. He has never apologized. He's never so much as acknowledged it. A friend of mine had a good story where he moved into a new flat in Birmingham. He went to bed on the first night and woke up to some guys trying to kick his door down. He scrambled to the hallway to hold the door up. They had bats and knives and were swinging at him through the gap in the door that was no longer on his hinges. He started shouting at them and they immediately stopped and replied, "Who's that?" He replied with his name. A moment of silence fell followed by, "Sorry mate, wrong flat." Good thing he woke up. We assumed the flat he moved into was previously left by a drug dealer. I assumed they wanted to murder him in his sleep. I was shot at during an attempted carjacking. Car chase ensued. Police caught up to them. They escaped bail. FBI found them 4 states away 2 years later. 21-year sentence for both. To answer the bail question, I have no idea how they got bail. They were on a crime spree, robbed several people at gunpoint that same evening. When we showed up for the trial as witnesses for the prosecution, we were told they skipped bail. By the time they caught up to them, our testimony was no longer required. My crazy religious aunt tried to drown me in the bathtub when I was 11. She walked in on me bathing and just shoved my head down and kept it there. I would have died if my younger sister hadn't walked in on the whole thing and tackled my aunt. Mind you, my sister was 7 and was abnormally small for her age. She saw the entire thing and quickly realized what was happening. After stopping my aunt, she grabbed me and ran to my dad who was asleep to wake him up. At first, he couldn't believe what was going on and my aunt used the excuse of I was baiting him and he slipped. But there was no reason for her to bait me, and my sister and I kept insisting on what had happened until my aunt cracked and said that I had the devil in me and that I wasn't pure blood. Dad married someone from a different country, so I'm mixed, and she hated all of us. Dad called the police and my aunt confessed that she was going to start with me and then go after the rest of my 5 siblings in order to purify the family line. It's been 18 years and she's still locked up in the Cocoa House and constantly saying that she is going to finish what she started. This sounds like a horror movie plot. When I was 9, an older kid held me underwater at a public pool trying to drown me. I fought back best I could for what felt like forever. Ran out of air and started to black out. Had the time to think, yep, this is it. My lungs at that point felt like they were on fire. As I went unconscious, the last thing I remember is inhaling water. My older brother saw what was happening and got the guy off me and dragged me out of the pool. I came to coughing up water. All the adults and lifeguards chalked it to kids playing. But the kid had told me days prior, in an incredibly matter-of-fact, bone-chilling way, that someday he was going to kill me. He was trying to make good on that. Someone tried to rob my store during a psychotic episode. He trashed the place, tried to crack open my head with a 16-inch bong, and stripped naked as I was ejecting him. Then, he drove a jeep through the wall and tried to run me over. The counter I stood behind all day stopped the jeep. I left through the massive hole he left in the wall.